Something happened to you. Maybe it was years ago. Maybe it still feels close. And somewhere inside you, a part of you has been trying to make sense of it ever since. You became someone who reads rooms before entering them, who feels things others do not notice, who asks questions nobody else thinks to ask, who sees pain in people's eyes before they say a word. You thought this was damage. You thought this was the cost of what you went through. But what if it was never damage at all? What if your pain quietly built something in you that most people spend their entire lives trying to find? The concept of traumatic intelligence is not a motivational phrase. It is a real psychological phenomenon, rooted in neuroscience and developmental psychology. When the brain experiences prolonged stress, emotional pain, or trauma, especially during formative years, it does not simply survive. It adapts. And those adaptations, as painful as they are to carry, produce a form of cognitive and emotional sophistication that cannot be taught in any classroom or learned from any book. The first thing trauma does to a developing brain is force it to become hypervigilant. Your nervous system learned to scan the environment, constantly reading microexpressions, detecting shifts in tone, sensing when something was about to go wrong before it did. Neuroscientists call this an overactivated amygdala response. And while it is exhausting to live with, it produces something extraordinary, a level of social and emotional perception that most people never develop. You do not just hear what people say. You hear what they are not saying. You feel the weight behind the words. This is not anxiety. This is intelligence that was forged under pressure. The second thing trauma produces is what psychologists call post-traumatic growth, a concept developed by researchers Richard Tedeschi and Lawrence Calhoun. They found that a significant number of people who experience serious adversity do not just return to baseline. They develop new strengths, deeper empathy, a more complex understanding of life, and a greater capacity for meaning-making than they had before. The pain does not disappear, but something grows alongside it, something that would never have existed without it. The third thing is emotional depth. People with traumatic intelligence feel things at a level that others simply cannot access. This is not weakness. This is the result of a nervous system that has been stretched beyond ordinary limits and learned to hold complexity, grief, and gratitude at the same time, love and fear in the same moment, strength and exhaustion in the same breath. Psychologists call this emotional complexity, and it is one of the rarest and most valuable forms of human intelligence. It is what makes you the person others come to when they are breaking, not because you have all the answers, but because you understand what it feels like to break. The fourth thing traumatic intelligence produces is pattern recognition at a human level. When you have navigated unpredictable environments, when safety was never guaranteed and you had to read situations quickly and accurately, your brain builds extraordinary skill at detecting patterns in human behavior. You see cycles in relationships before they complete. You recognize manipulation before it lands. You understand group dynamics that others are completely blind to. This is not paranoia. This is a brain that learned to protect you and never stopped. The fifth thing, and this is the one that most people never recognize in themselves, is a profound capacity for meaning. People who have suffered deeply and reflected on that suffering develop what existential psychologist Viktor Frankl called the will to meaning, the ability to find purpose inside pain, to construct a coherent and even beautiful narrative from broken pieces. This is why so many of the most insightful writers, healers, artists, and thinkers in history were people who had survived something, not despite their pain, because of what their pain made them see. But here is what needs to be said honestly. Traumatic intelligence is not a gift that cancels out the pain. The hypervigilance is exhausting. The emotional depth can feel like too much to carry. The pattern recognition can make it hard to trust. And the capacity for meaning does not arrive automatically. It has to be chosen, again and again, in the quiet moments when it would be easier to shut down. This is not about romanticizing suffering. It is about refusing to let your suffering be only suffering. It is about looking at what you became, the depth, the perception, the strength, the empathy, and understanding that none of it appeared by accident. You did not just survive what happened to you. Your brain built something from it. something real, something rare, something that the world genuinely needs. Even if the world has not always known how to receive it, the intelligence you carry is not in spite of your story. It is woven into every part of it. If this video touched something in you, our last video is waiting. We went deep into the psychology behind high IQ, habits, and what is really happening inside those minds. Go watch that one next. The link is right there. See you in the next video on Mind Unlocked.